I teach the Chemistry 152, General Chemistry 2 laboratory course at Gateway Community College. The lab, students of course work in a lab, and what particularly concerns me is assessing their laboratory techniques. So in a few minutes, you probably will see my students working in the lab, and I will be looking to assess their techniques. Okay, now please sign the sign-up sheet. The following competency is listed among the General Chemistry 2 Laboratory official course competencies. It's competency number 8, and it says, standardize solutions and analyze samples by performing titration experiments. Today, my students will be performing an experiment entitled The Determination of the Percentage of Iron in an Unknown Ore by Redox Titration. And this certainly addresses this competency. To perform this lab correctly, students must develop certain specific laboratory techniques. These techniques include knowledge of how to set up the titration equipment correctly and how to titrate appropriately. This is a classroom assessment because it attempts to assess how well students master these laboratory techniques. The assessment is formative, and it is an attempt at helping students improve the manner in which they follow standard laboratory procedures. So as their instructor, I will be observing students setting up their titration equipment and titrating, and I will use a rubric to assess their performance. I'm going to rate them on a 5-point scale. 5 meaning that the student has used all the standard procedures for the task correctly, right down to a 1, meaning that the student has used none of the standard procedures for the task. Now, the rubric for setting up the equipment, I'll be looking to see whether the student checks if the burette is clean to start with. When the student is filling the burette, does he or she rinse it with the potassium permanganate prior to filling? Is the burette jet completely free of air bubbles? Is the burette filled to the mark in the proper manner? And is the volume of the potassium permanganate in the burette adequate for the titration? Has the student put a tile or substitute bit of white paper in the setup? This enables him or her to see the endpoint more distinctly. Now, the rubric for titrating includes, is the student using an appropriate pace at the start of the titration? Is the student using an appropriate pace coming on to the end point? Has the student adopted an appropriate posture to titrate in a fluent manner? Is the student using the correct swirling titrating action? And is the endpoint color appropriate? Nice. Marrakesh, did you get one as nice as this? Yeah. Okay guys, this is what we're going for, okay? Just barely pink, okay? Nice. Good, well done, good job guys. So these 2 criteria I will be assessing using my 5-point rating scale.